Economically, Japan is in a lot of trouble. They can no longer sustain themselves without immigration and foreign help. The birth rate has been on a steady decline there, and it's really probably worse in many of these Asian nations where they are well below even, you need 2.1 to sustain a population, and many of them are even below a 1. So, Japan will fall if outsiders don't go there to really help them out. And this is all due to low birth rate just catching up to them. So this came out in Forbes, ladies and gentlemen. Japan must either open up to foreigners or face economic collapse. So they are in danger right now. Japan faces a stark choice these days: either open up the gaugings, foreigners, or face economic collapse. There was a time Japan was the world's second largest economy, on track to bypass the world's largest economy, the US. Scores of books and editorials praise the country's advantages, like its state of the art management, hardworking and well disciplined labor force, sound economic policies, and technological progress. That was back in the 1980s when the Japan economy was growing at a fast pace and Japanese corporations were collecting American landmark trophies. Now, Japan is the world's third largest economy, almost one third of its size of of China. So, wow. At one time, China was behind Japan economically, and less than one fourth of America, barely growing and mirrored in debt. Remember, I did a story, I believe it was last year, where birth rate in Japan is so low and so bad, they are giving away free homes to couples that will have babies, that have a set amount of children. And none of this stuff is going to work, y'all, because they won't admit one thing, whether it's here in the West or in the Asian nations. This is genetic. They will not admit it. And its per capita GDP falling. In the most recent quarter, Japan's GDP grew at 0.79%, and its debt to GDP ratio reached 240%. Wow. Woo. Nowadays, there's no more praise for the country's policies and institutions. And the few books written about Japan talk about the 1980s bubble and the lost decade that have followed. What went wrong? Many things, like the burst of the equity and the real estate bubble back in the early 1990s. That's something that destroyed a great deal of wealth. Right, it did, but I did not know that Japan went through their own economic bubble back then too. See, I'm learning too. And left banks with piles of non-performing loans. Then there was trade friction with the US and a soaring yen, which undermined one of the country's growth engines, exports. And competition from South Korea and China made matters worse for Japan's exporters. Okay, so the Japanese is in the blue and SB. Okay, that's the S&P 500. But the biggest problem of all was demographics, low birth rates. Do you see this? Japan is about to collapse over low birth rate, y'all. They're already at the point in time where they're going to collapse. Okay, so that means they no longer have a population that can sustain their economy right now in 2019. But the biggest problem of all was demographics, low birth rates coupled with rising longevity rates. So, in other words, the longevity is their aging population. They're living longer, but there's no younger generation that can help sustain the older generation. They created a crumbling population pyramid. But you know what makes me laugh, ladies and gentlemen? These folks in the West and these folks in Asia, they all, for many, many centuries, claim to be the best and brightest and smartest and know it all. And look at what's happening to them. And they can't do nothing about it. They can't do nothing about it. And even here in America, all this interracial dating and propping that up in the media, that's not going to help these people remain on this planet. Come on. This is Japan's biggest problem because the crumbling population pyramid shrunk the country's labor force and diminished its productive potential. It also caused a spike in the dependency ratio from 43.3% in 1992 to 67.55% in 2018. Wow. This means that they are roughly 68 dependents, people less than 15 or older than 64, for every 100 people of working age 15 to 64. Today's high dependency rate undermines Japan's economic growth and pushes the country further into government deficits that add to already skyrocket high debts and set up the country for a Greek style debt crisis that could cause an economic collapse. Wow. What's causing low birth rates, low marriage rates, which is rooted in the prolonged economic stagnation, in the post bubble economy, and the high cost of property values, among others. And remember, they adopt that same, oh, get your education, get a good job. And you see what that has done to the West and in the Asian nations. Now you got a whole group of people that are career driven. They don't want marriage. They don't want children. And how do you increase your economy without those things? You did not prop up family. You propped up career. So, in my opinion, the Asian nations and the Western European and America, you got just what you asked for. So, what are you complaining about? So, you contributed to your own low birth rate. You're the main contributor to it. And what's the solution? A number of incentives which encourage young people to get married and have more children, and it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. If it was working, Japan would not be in trouble now. The trouble is that the Japanese government has tried almost all of them without avail. That's why the time may be ripe for Japan to try something radical, like opening up to an American style immigration. Don't do it. Don't model yourself after America. I'm just trying to give you some advice. All nations on this planet, don't model yourself after America. Don't do it. You will surely fail. But that will eventually change the fabric of the Japanese society from one race to a cultural society of to a multiracial, multicultural society. Is Japan ready for that? No. You know what it is? They want to be able to keep their culture alive and the birth rate increase, and it's not going to happen. And be honest with you, people migrating to Japan is not the immigrants are not going to increase Japanese birth rates, just like immigration is not going to increase white birth rate here in America. Those things have failed. And plus, these immigrants, they don't want to permanently stay in your country. Once they make a set amount of money, they climb back over that fence and go home. And many of them are going home anyway because Trump's immigration laws have gotten a lot harsher. So they don't want to stay. And plus, remember what I said, Hispanics are no longer having a lot of babies. That's changing, especially for the ones that have been born and raised in America. They want careers. They don't want the traditional family anymore. Oh, my, how everything is changing, ladies and gentlemen. But please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.